Okay, so I'll reconvene the meeting and resume the agenda, and I believe the next item is the consent calendar. Anybody want to remove anything?
I move to adopt a consent calendar.
Okay, 2 items on the
Second.
minutes, investment report, and your good work of Cliff in getting our housing numbers down, right?
Yes.
Right, okay, I see. Terry moved and
Seconded.
Clark seconded. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No
Might be
noes,
opposed.
motion passes. Okay. Old business. Update on Baylands Citizens Committee membership. That's the Citizens Committee to review the draft environmental impact report. And who's going to do that?
Do you want to do it?
No.
Oh, okay. At your city council meeting of December 17th, the council reviewed the list of committee members who had expressed interest in serving on the Citizens Committee to review the Baylands draft DEIR. At that meeting, there was a conversation about a potential conflict of interest of any one of the committee members possibly having a financial interest with Universal Paragon or UPC or any other property owner out at the Brisbane Baylands area. And then we discussed whether a disclosure form should be filled out or if there should be any other requirements of people on that committee. Subsequent to that meeting, staff contacted outside counsel and asked for a legal opinion on whether, in fact, there was a conflict of interest or a legal conflict of interest. And the opinion that we got back basically said that that there was no conflict. And so at this point, it's up to the discretion of the council, because it was a council-created committee, to decide whether you would want the committee members to fill out a disclosure form, and or if they did say there was some sort of a financial conflict of interest, whether that was enough just to note that they had that, or whether you would want them to serve on that committee. So tonight staff is looking for direction from council, because we would like to set the meeting, first meeting date for January 28th at 6:30, giving those committee members time to organize themselves before the draft environmental impact report is released, hopefully sometime in February.
Good. Could you be a little bit more explicit about the attorney's recommendation? And the reason that I think it might be helpful is that the attorney's recommendation that we have in writing, and you might want to talk a little bit about who that attorney is.
Okay, and I think I'll ask John to do that for you.
Okay, but also I want to make sure that we talk about the fact that this particular advice seems in conflict with the advice that we got at the previous meeting from our regular city attorney. So I think those issues should be aired, so it's clear in what we're looking at. So maybe, John, you can fill us in on who this outside attorney is, and then exactly what this person is saying, and then how that relates to the previous advice we got, so it's clear what the situation is.
Margaret Sahagi and her firm, Sahagi Law Group, has provided outside legal counsel on Baylands-related items probably over the last 3 to 4 years. She is a CEQA attorney, a specialist in representing municipalities in CEQA litigation and CEQA compliance. Those are her only clients are municipalities, governmental agencies. Originally, it was based on her CEQA expertise that we'd have certain questions that came up through the process to supplement the city attorney's services. However, with the retirement of the city attorney pending, and obviously when we started this process several years ago, the expectation is the city attorney would be here to shepherd the entire draft DIR process through and be here for that. With his retirement plans and the way the EIR is stretched out, that outside legal counsel will ultimately serve as a bridge from, you know, the past history of working on the document and having that institutional history, be able to carry that forward as the EIR goes through a review process through the Council and Planning Commission. So it certainly wasn't the intent, but as the project evolved and the time balance and the change in circumstances, her role certainly will be different than it was originally intended through this process, but it is a very valuable bridge, certainly, and the institutional background she has regarding the project will be invaluable, as opposed to having to have been in a position where we lost Hal's services on the EIR and had to bring somebody on somewhat cold to try to remake this history of what can be a kind of challenging project. So we're glad to have her. She has on the order of 25 years or more of municipal CEQA law experience. She teaches CEQA to judges in California, part of her practice. Represents, again, only municipalities, and again, we're glad to have her advice. In terms of the issue of what happened the other day, and then the discussion, you know, all I can really say is, you know, the research that's reflected in this opinion, you know, really does get to the core of the question of what constitutes a actual financial conflict of interest, and who is a governmental. And I think the key phrase in the definition of a public official, and I don't know that we had the discussion at the last meeting, part of a more interactive session, that Hal really had the benefit of being clear in his mind. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but the role of that committee, as did they meet the test of a public official as defined for conflict of interest provisions. With that, I do have Hal's associate here today, and if she wants to weigh in on the opinion, be glad to turn the floor over to her.
I think, isn't it also the case that we're going to be meeting this attorney later on in the future?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Mayor. She will be coming to the Planning Commission meeting, actually coming in January, just to be introduced to the Planning Commission, spend a little time with them in terms of her background, so they again are familiar with her. And we are going to arrange a meeting date to be determined, hopefully in February, before the EIR is published, to have a session. I think there are a couple agenda items related to the Baylands moving forward that would be a useful topic of discussion, and her input would be important for that. So yes, we do plan on bringing her before the full council for some discussions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You know, if I may, Mr. Mayor, you know, when we addressed this at I guess it was our last meeting, or maybe the meeting before. It was the last meeting.
Right.
You know, when Hal gave his opinion, to me, it was more of an opinion of maybe that isn't such a wise thing to do. But it wasn't a legal, you know, opinion. It was more of like what we're dealing with tonight. Do we think this is a good idea? And Hal's opinion, no, you should, you know, you got a lot of people that you can choose from. Maybe it isn't such a good thing to do, but not so much a legal thing. But here we're getting the legal opinion, which says that we could bring that person on if we wanted to. So, but yeah, that was kind of the take that I got at that meeting.
Valerie, did you want to weigh in on that, or?
I wasn't aware of this prior to Hal's departure and haven't discussed anything he may have said or thought with him, but I do concur in the opinion that's been written by your outside legal CEQA person. I would point out that I think a lot of it turns on the fact that this is a citizens committee that really is designed simply to provide you with input. It has no ultimate decision-making authority. And if in fact this part-time person, for example, was on the city council, then there would be a conflict of interest and the person would be disqualified from acting on it. So I think when you look at the totality of the facts involved and what it is this particular committee is doing, that becomes really the determinative item in terms of figuring out if there's a conflict or not. And I would also point out that on the last page of the opinion, there's a paragraph that talks about a couple of other instances in the Hermosa Beach case and also in the another AG opinion where there were situations that it wasn't just a question of a financial conflict, but other kinds of biases and interests. But again, in both of those examples, there was a final decision-making authority as opposed to simply input.
Okay, thank you. So what's the pleasure of the council?
You know, I think, well, I know Attorney and I think we're on the same page about.
I don't know.
I don't know, yeah,
Well, I mean,
we'll
at the
find
la-
out,
at
yeah.
At the last meeting, and, it was, that someone who was an employee of UPC.
I think that while there may not be a legal definition of conflict of interest in this case, that because it's not a decision-making body, I think that there is a perceived conflict or non-impartiality. So, and from what I'm reading from the opinions given by the Sogezi law firm, we could make it anything we want it to. There's no reason we have to even allow someone on the Citizens Committee if we feel there's a perceived conflict.
Well, we could, draft a letter, asking if someone has any financial interest or is an employee of UPC or any of the other property owners, and they can just, and take their word that that's the case. And if we as a council decided that we would not want someone on the Citizens Committee who had those types of connections, we could disqualify them if that's what we chose to do. To me, we got enough folks here, and I know, I mean, we talked about Jessica, and Jessica is a great person, and her integrity is the highest level. But I don't want to pick and choose people who might be employees of UPC who would be on here. I'd rather just have just a straight shot and say anybody who's got any kind of connection, either employed or some kind of financial connection with any of the property owners out at the Baylands, they should not be on this committee, and move on.
I'm happy with that.
I'm okay with it, but I'm kind of, I don't want to say ambivalent, because you look at it, it's a citizens committee, and seeing some of the folks on there, you're not going to have any influence on them. I mean, that's sometimes you let groups ferret their stuff out and don't want to put too much control on it. But, if that's, I'm going to defer to you guys on that, because doesn't matter one way or the other. I'm okay with it as is. I'm okay. But, I'm okay the other way too. So, it's probably not taking a definitive stand because, I really don't, I don't see it as a decision-making body. It's just gonna make recommendations or whatever they can do. And they can do that as individual citizens if they want. Just,
Of course they can.
yeah. Knowing Jessica as I know her, that, because this is specifically who we're talking about, that I think she does have a lot of integrity. just, but I understand the perception too. And sometimes the perception is stronger than the reality. And, if kicks up dust with people, then, we just, kind of our job to ferret through that and.
Yeah, well, if you can avoid kicking up dust.
Right.
We should, by all means, try and make that
Well, we
happen.
kind of want to get off the ground, with
Yes.
this whole process and so.
You don't want a cloud over it, even if the cloud really isn't going to produce any rain, but still.
Yeah. You don't want to seed it too much, huh?
Yeah. Right. Sure, Michelle?
Michelle Salmon, Brisbane resident. Since I'm one of the people who was kind of kicking up some dust over it, I just really want to make it clear that this isn't about Jessica Aloff personally. I think that she's a wonderful person. She contributes to the community. And it's not a question about her integrity. It's a question about the process. And I just feel that, I sit on the Open Space and Ecology Committee. I had to go through an application process. I had to say why I wanted to be on it. I had to state that, I'm a citizen of Brisbane. I think it's really important that you have some qualifications for it, because although it's not a decision-making body, it isn't a body of influence. And it's just and that's why I think that it's important to protect the whole integrity of the process by having some qualifications like you must be a Brisbane resident. And you shouldn't be in any kind of financial relationship with the developer or the city or any, it's just common sense. And yes, the legal opinion is one thing. And because it's not a decision-making body, that's fine. But it's more like the kind of bias part of it that concerns me, and kind of you're asking this group to have influence, and I think that it's important to kind of protect the process. And I think I'm overly sensitive about it because the citizens' preferred alternative, as it was so called for so long, was not really brought to the table as what the citizens really wanted. It was a process that was hosted or paid for by the developer. And so that still rankles that it was ever even referred to, the community preferred alternative, and still often is. Because honestly, I don't know anybody in the community who would prefer to have 12 million square feet out there. And so I think that that's one of the reasons why I feel ultra sensitive about this being a true, citizens committee with no outside, not even a dust cloud of concern over anybody who's on that committee, not a specific person, but each person should be asked to say, what is their relationship, and that they're a citizen of Brisbane. Thank you.
Oh, Carolyn.
Could I just get some clarification? Is this a group that is getting together to sort of support each other so that they read the document? Or is this a group that is going to come up with a consensus? Is it a group that each person is going to make their own recommendation? Thank you.
Okay. My answer to that is kind of all of the above.
Kind of working those details out right now.
Work in progress.
Yeah, right. A lot depends on, what the group wants to do. I think we leave it up to them, if they're comfortable working together and, they actually want to create a consensus set of comments. That would be fine. If they want to divide into subcommittees, that's fine. If they want to do their thing individually, that's also fine. I don't think we have a set structure for it. We'll let people decide how they think they can do this task most effectively. I do think that one of the purposes of this is to have a kind of an ongoing support group, so sort of encourage each other to keep up and read the materials. I think that certainly is one of the objectives. Yeah. You want to say something?
No, I'm waiting for you.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that, I don't know, personally, I'm kind of not too much in favor of asking people to sign anything or, disclosure form or anything. It seems too bureaucratic, and we don't really normally ask people, citizens who are citizens of Brisbane, to do that. But I think if there's a sentiment that, we just, send a note to all the people who've, applied, saying that it's the, sense of the council that it would be inappropriate for someone who's a, direct employee of UPC to serve in this capacity, and then just let them, kind of disqualify themselves.
I
Would
think
be
they should do
sufficient
that.
for me, anyway.
Yes. That's my opinion too, that give that person the opportunity to disqualify themselves.
So, reasonable.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So we have a decision on that. So noted? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, the date? I think that, January 28th. No objection to that?
What day is that?
That's a Monday, right?
Monday? Oh, yeah, 14 days from now, huh?
Okay.
We have a council meeting that day or no?
No, 22nd is
Next Monday?
well, 22nd is Tuesday, which we have a meeting on. That's the, the personnel labor meeting. I don't think we have anything on the 28th.
Your
Next would be the first meeting in February,
Right.
first Monday in February.
Yeah. First and third Mondays of the month are the meetings.
Right.
Geez, I got one Wednesday night, one Thursday night, all in San Mateo, one in the county. ALS.
Now, on the 28th, I think, anybody can come, of course, but it was my intent to, be there and represent the council and sort of tell them, okay, you have a lot of flexibility here, we really appreciate your coming, but, you can sort of set this up the way you want. That'd be my intent anyway, if that's okay with you all.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right, Sherry? Okay. Okay, so let's move on to new business. And I should say that the next two items under new business, we had a informal discussion beforehand. So we have some idea of where people stand on this. So for the first one, I think we probably need to,
Can I make a motion?
maybe I was thinking, maybe we need to accept Seppi's resignation first, maybe in terms of order. Just dawned on me that because the reason we're doing this first thing is because of that. So maybe we should accept her resignation as a formal action before we start filling her spots. You agree? Yeah, okay. So maybe then I should announce, and then I guess the council can, vote to accept the decision of Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Seppi Richardson to resign, quote, retire, unquote, from the council as of December 29th, 2012. And we have a letter to that effect, signed by her, and we have that in our packet, and we will duly recognize her service at a subsequent meeting. But now we are in the position of, voting to, receive and accept her resignation. So I would accept a motion to that effect.
Motion to accept the letter of resignation from Seppi Richardson from the Brisbane City Council.
I'll second that.
Okay, second. Any further discussion? No? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Okay. We've done that, so now we got it in order, right? Now we should talk about, okay, one of the positions that she occupied was Mayor Pro Tem, and so we need another Mayor
I'd like to make a
Pro Tem.
motion to nominate Clark Conway as the Mayor Pro Tem.
I will second that.
Okay. Are there any other nominations?
No.
So let us say that nominations are closed, and now we need to vote for Clark Conway as Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I
Okay, Clark?
was going to say no.
Here you go again.
All right, congratulations, Clark.
We don't need to swear in.
So, we've been doing this kind of swearing in stuff for the mayor and the Mayor Pro Tem, but it turns out that legally isn't really necessary. And so we decided not to go through those motions.
I thought you were going to do like
But if-
Polynesian.
Yeah.
Save time. We're going to save time.
If Clark, you want to make a speech, I mean.
Thank you. I think.
Okay. All right.
I do want to make a speech. The only reason I took it is because Terry didn't. And I deferred to her on this, so. She
I
goes,
felt
I'll wait next year.
I figured I could benefit for another year's investment in the council before changing positions.
Yeah, but we kind of had set an order, and you technically were in line for that order, and so you kind of deferred, and I said, okay, I would.
I appreciate that.
Okay, great.
Good there.
Just
Yeah?
quick question, under the new business, we did officially declared that item B, we did half of it, but I think we kind of split it there, because we had to go through the discussion options of filling the vacancy, which we haven't done
Right.
in an open
Should we
meeting.
do that separately, or what we did before, okay?
Basically, the council has two options. The council can either call for an election or the
No,
council
I
can
mean,
appoint.
he's talking about
The agenda item.
the way the agenda
Oh,
reads. We've accepted her letter of resignation, but do we have to declare the position vacant? as
By
separate
accepting the letter of resignation, it automatically declares the position vacant.
action? That's kind of what I thought, but Clark wanted to make sure. Okay?
No,
the
just 'cause
second
we're going
part is,
back to it.
Right.
And discuss,
Options for filling the vacancy. Yeah, well, that's the next, okay.
Yeah, I thought that's where you were going.
Yeah, well, we are, yeah.
that's where we're going.
Yeah, we are, yeah, right. So I just wanted to say one thing. We had, an informal discussion about all these matters and options and different opinions and so forth. But we would like to sort of summarize that in terms of, what the options happen to be, and we're going to ask the staff to do that. And then we will, summarize where our opinions are, and we'll see where we go from there, right?
All right, I'll start where Valerie almost went. Basically, you do have two options, and one is to, within 60 days of the date of vacancy, which you determined was December 29th, a few minutes ago, or I said it was December 29th, the council will either need to appoint someone to fill the position or call a special election to do the same. There are two election dates that are possible, which would be in June or in November. And there's time frames in which, if you took an action before a certain date, then you could have the election in June, or if you didn't do it by February, I believe it is 12th, it would go to November. And then I guess the other option is if the council does not make a decision or cannot make a decision, that by operation of law, that we would have to, election would have to be called, and that would be in November of this year. Trying to think if any other things came up in our meeting, questions that council had.
Well, that particular seat is up for November election anyway.
And it is,
Yeah,
anyways. And anyone that you would appoint or any election to fill that position would only go through, that person would serve through November 2013.
Okay.
So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Does the city attorney want to add to that?
No, I think it's pretty complete. It's basically, the term is the rest of this year until the November election.
Okay, so do you want me to summarize kind of where we're at, or do everybody want to express their own?
You know, you can, I'm fine if you want to summarize it.
I'm afraid we summarized, we just got two definitions.
Yeah, okay,
of
we
Democrat
had a very interesting conversation, and I think it was the general consensus that, you know, a special election didn't make a whole lot of sense, since the person would no sooner get into office than they'd be running again. And plus, you have to pay for it and so forth. So I think there was a general view that special election probably is not the most sensible way to go. So then that leaves the other option, which is appointment. And what was interesting when we got into this is that the state law essentially doesn't really tell you, what to do, other than if you make an appointment, the person has to be a resident, a voter of the city, and 18 years or more. That's about it. And so then the rest is kind of up to the council as to what kind of process to follow. And we got this information about what other cities have done, and it's just all over the map. So then we asked various opinions from the members of the current council. And one member of the council very, quote, adamantly, unquote, said that it was his view that we ought to only consider former council members for the appointment. And then there was the counter view that no, we should have an open process and let anybody who wants to apply do so. What was interesting was that when we discussed this matter, it turned out that two people took the first view, two members of the council took the first view, and two members of the council took the second view. So we have essentially at this point an impasse, which, as I said, is one of the reasons you have 5 members on the city council. So I don't know that anybody has changed their mind between a couple hours ago and now, but as of now, we essentially are not in the position to move ahead because we haven't agreed how to proceed. And I'm not quite sure, whether we just keep agendizing it and see if we change, or if somebody's changed now, or the default position is if we stick to these positions all the way through February, then election is held in November and we have a council of 4 until then. That's kind of the default position, as I understand it. Is that correct?
Well, yes, if you don't decide by the 27th of February, then state law will essentially say that you have an election, but it so happens that the election that would normally be a special election will coincide with the regular election for the position. You basically have as much time as you would like to figure out what you want to do in terms of an appointment if you want to go the appointment route. So you don't, if you don't decide, because of the timing of the election, you could determine in March or April or what have you, if it's not working out to have just 4 council members, you could decide potentially to appoint somebody somewhere between essentially now and November.
So we could decide, let's say, we'll have an appointment process, but we don't know what that's going to be yet. Is that what you're saying?
That's clearly an option, yes.
Okay.
So you could appoint someone in July if we wanted.
There's no timeline. The only timeline is that you have 60 days to decide if you're going to appoint or if you're going to call an election. And if you don't make a decision in those 60 days, then the default is the election. And in this case, it turns out that what would typically be a special election, because this is the final year of the term in question, it winds up on the date for the regular election.
Yeah.
But you could figure out, in March or April that you finally concur in some sort of appointment mechanism, or you could determine that you want to continue as just 4. There's nothing in the law that governs how you have to deal with this.
So, but in order to do that, we would have to make a decision for an appointment rather than an election, the nature of which process yet to be determined. Can you do that?
Yes, you can do that.
Mr. Mayor, could we just have maybe just a minute break?
Okay. That's a new twist, right?
I don't think,
Isn't it?
Go ahead.
I wonder if it really matters, so, I mean, in the end.
Well, I don't know, but
I mean,
it
you
is a
could
new
always
twist.
we could always come back to it, I
Yeah.
think, from what I understand. Basically, the impasse to me is we have strong feelings both ways.
Right.
And because of that, let's just move forward. And then, if we find that,
That we're dysfunctional.
that we're dysfunctional, I mean,
Seriously, right?
no other way to put it, that we're not able to come to consensus, whether it's 3-1 or 4-0, then we'd have to take another look at it. And, we all have,
anytime after the fact, we could go ahead and appoint if we all agreed on it.
right.
Otherwise,
But, I think,
Right.
I think Clay
no,
is having
it'd
some
still be
issues
an
with,
election in November.
that you have to make an appointment, that you only have a 60-day window to make an appointment.
I don't know.
And I know
You can.
we've. I don't
That's
think
right.
we're
What you just
clear.
said is different to me.
Believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I'm not
and
gonna
I think
argue with
Clay is.
Yeah.
Wait a
We have an
minute.
attorney.
So you gotta get clear on that. It
Yeah,
may not be
exactly.
clear
Other-
tonight.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because then
You're not
the
clear.
time passes and then we just sort of stuck.
Okay, I'm sitting over here in the Netherlands and I can't hear you guys when you're, just,
Because we're not supposed to be having.
Oh, we're on break. No,
We're just basically saying we really don't have a clue, really.
well, I'd moved down there, but this is,
no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Terry. Actually, I'm not gonna, next meeting.
Yeah.
I don't wanna block you. We're gonna switch seats. No.
make sure you get up and
Hey, you gotta switch from the right to the left.
Mr. Mayor, it's 10:35.
Well, let's wait,
Yeah.
see what
Well,
they come up
you know,
with, and then we'll have to decide whether we want to continue.
Well, one of the questions, I have, which is interesting, because since it's gonna be a special election.
Okay, do we
Are
have,
you ready? Got an answer?
Yes. Okay. Well, we were just discussing the issue of whether you had to appoint within the 60 days or whether you'd had to just say you're going to appoint.
Right.
In the 60 days.
that was the new twist.
That was the new twist. So we discussed that, and I think that the attorney would like to have a little more time to research the exact wording and also look at the potential jeopardy we might have if you appointed after the 60 days. So what we would suggest is that we put this on,
February 1st.
well, I guess we probably would need to, because if you were going to appoint, you'd want to have at least the month of February to figure out what that process was going to be, if indeed you have to do it by the 27th. So we'll go ahead and put it on the next agenda then,
Okay,
and then that'll give us time to kind of research this kind of nuance to this.
okay.
Got a question, though?
Sure.
Valerie, say we did nothing and we went status quo till November, is that still considered a special election, even though that seat is going to be filled in?
Well, I think it technically winds up being a special election that gets combined with the regular election, because you only have one seat. And under the vacancy law, it's called a special election, but since it's the regular election for that seat, the regular election would typically take precedence.
Now, the second question on that is, the regular election would take precedence, so a person wouldn't run for that specific seat. It'd still be voter at large, right? Is that
Correct.
okay? That's what I.
Because the special election would just be to fill the remainder of the term,
Determine.
and the term would be over.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. All right, that clarifies that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So we kicked the can down the, down the street a little there on that one. But we clearly need to know the answer to that question.
So do we need to move to continue it?
I don't think we'll just
Yeah, we'll-
re-agendize it, yeah.
Re-agendize it.
Yeah, right. Okay, we have only one other item on the agenda, but we are past our 10:30.
Motion to extend till 10:50.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, we got it. Okay, so we're really looking now about, it's also, as Cliff said earlier, these are the appointments that,
Well, we got the city manager's report.
want to do that?
No report.
Yeah, no, we do.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I do?
I already knew that.
Yeah, we do. No, I'm sorry.
There's something you
gotta put
needed
him
to
on the
bring
spot.
up?
Oh,
Yeah.
The thing with Adrian?
Yeah, we had a meeting with Adrian Tissier and Cliff.
Oh, is that going to come
But I
under,
think,
I
but you know,
thought
I
it was
think
going to be on
when-
subcommittee.
When we talked about Seppi's former appointments.
No, I mean, the sub,
This particular thing, I think Clay was probably,
We could do it either, but I can do it. So.
okay, wherever, yeah.
Yeah,
As
let-
long as we get it.
let him do it because it's kind of a timing thing too.
Okay, all right, go for it.
So, and Cliff and Clark can help me along with this a little bit too. We did meet with Adrian Tessier with the Economic Development Subcommittee last Thursday, I believe, or Wednesday, somewhere last week.
Thursday.
Thursday, thank you. All runs together. And she invited us to come to the board's meeting tomorrow where they're going to be having some discussions with regards to budget. She suggested that somebody from staff as well as one of the council members, mayor, or one of the council members attend. And I think she said 9:30 if I recall correctly.
I think they start at
They start at
9 or you come down at 10.
When is this?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Ooh.
But in regards to the budget, this has to do with the Measure A funds on the Measure A that was just passed on the half-cent sale tax.
Yeah.
Which is supposed to generate, what, $60 million a year?
I believe so, yeah.
And so we want to have an understanding of what cities need so that they can help distribute that money too. And so, we talked about a couple things that, that we have in the works with affordable housing, libraries, stuff like that, so.
Well, this is the recent county tax you're talking,
Right,
additional sales tax.
Yes.
right, Measure A. The other Measure A.
Yeah, no,
The new
right,
Measure A.
yeah, the new Measure A,
It's a
yeah,
half
that
cent.
got me a little confused. 'cause
Yeah,
the Measure A is the Transportation Authority.
Yeah, the tax kicks in on April 1st, I think, April 1st, I believe.
So we given any thought to this? It's the first time I heard about it.
Well, it came up at that
It's
meeting.
the first time we heard
which,
about it.
Yeah, first time you heard about it too, huh? Yeah, okay.
Which was Thursday,
Yeah.
so it was almost.
It was Thursday,
yeah.
As I recall, I mean, what Supervisor Tessier was kind of speaking to was that with redevelopment being gone now, that the county might have an interest in trying to reach out to cities and trying to help out with filling the hole a little bit in terms of some development scenarios. What that might look like was very vague. So, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of, I don't think there was a lot of definition from what she was asking from us, let alone what we might have in mind in terms of requests. So I think tomorrow is probably more just to kind of learn and understand where the county's going with this and, maybe in just a general way indicate that, we have issues regarding the Baylands and other issues in town that, we would certainly enjoy the dialogue with the county if they're going to be looking at some creative ways to try to help fund things.
Yeah, she was saying that it was more of a kickoff.
Yeah.
Meeting to, and she was encouraging different cities to come and, present particular projects that might benefit from that money.
But if we're there
Oh.
at the beginning, I think that helps,
Yeah, actually, thank you, Stuart. The workshop on their agenda on the web here indicates that the Measure A workshop starts at 9:15.
So were you thinking of sending any staff members as a consequence of your meeting?
I was thinking of assigning myself to go down, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, you can do that.
conversation later with them, so.
Yeah, okay, so we will be represented there.
And was there a council member that wanted to attend? You said staff and perhaps a council member?
One of the members of the committee want to go, or it's up to you all, I guess?
You know, I need to check my schedule. If I have some openings, then, you know, I'll try to attend.
Call me in the morning if you can't, early.
Okay,
What's today?
today's Monday.
14th.
Okay. Think I know that, huh? No, like, it all runs together.
Okay, so you guys will confer on that? and-
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
something you cannot make as the
Yeah.
mayor.
No, I think, since you are involved in it, I mean, it would be more appropriate to, for you all to go,
Night, Michelle.
yeah. Okay. So that's it for, okay?
That's it.
All right, good. Okay, so then we have a number of let's see, well, maybe, Clay, why don't you sort of, the general point is that there are some things that are sort of hanging out there, some of which are positions which CEPI was filling, and it's probably timely that we find somebody to do them sooner rather than later.
Right.
So you want to sort of give a sense of what we have here?
Sure. So these are all assignments that Councilwoman Richardson had, which we believe there will be meetings or need for meetings within the next month. They are a combination of councils, the two-member council subcommittees, as well as outside assignments. So the Finance and Labor Relations Subcommittee, which right now is one committee, one subcommittee, it's possible to break that into two if you'd like. That's something you may want to talk about. The City Attorney Recruitment Subcommittee, which is with Council or with Mayor Miller, that's pretty important that we fill that soon because we're moving along in that process. We had a subcommittee that was established, I think, in December, and Councilman O'Connell and Councilman Richardson had volunteered, and this was to deal with the various planning issues that had been coming before you in terms of zoning ordinance. So, you know, we have a need to kind of move that along. So that's that one. The San Francisco Roundtable, the next meeting is, I believe, the first Wednesday of February. And we do have kind of an ongoing issue there, as you're well aware, and that will be coming up again at that meeting. And then there are various assignments dealing with high-speed rail, but the main one is the Peninsula Cities Consortium, which meets, I believe, on Friday mornings.
February 8th,
Yeah,
first
the
Friday.
the first Friday of each month, and it meets at 8 o'clock down in Palo Alto.
It alternates between cities every 3 months.
Oh, it does?
But right now, it's in Atherton.
Oh, Atherton, okay. Palo Alto puts out the agenda, that's it.
Yes.
So that's the other one.
Okay, so I guess the question becomes, do we have any expressions of interest?
I'm already serving on the Planning Issues Subcommittee, but I would be interested in the city attorney recruitment process also.
Sounds good to me.
So would I, but I'll let you do it.
You know, you and I already talked about the Finance and Labor Subcommittee, and I know that the budget is, you know, a bedrock, thing that, you know, is very important for any local government, and you have a lot of passion for that. And I would hope that you'd want to, you know, put your hat.
Okay, I'm willing to do that if that's okay with everybody
Work
else.
with me.
And on that committee, you are on,
I am on that one, yes.
okay.
Though I know there's been some talk about maybe splitting that one up, and I'm fine with splitting it up. Maybe that we should talk about that when we do our list of all the subcommittees that we deal with, but I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, it does make some sense. So why don't we just talk about the Budget Committee, and unless Terry and Clark have strong need for that, then I'm happy to do that with Cliff, the Budget Committee. Is that
So
okay?
you want to split the Finance and Labor Negotiation Subcommittee?
Well, what I was thinking about is maybe we could meet as a subcommittee and find out exactly what those two sets of responsibilities are, and then come back to the full council and say, okay, we think it should stay together, or we think it should
I think
go into two.
it's
I
better
think you
to,
guys determine that.
Yeah.
Yeah, determine whether you want to do it. I'm okay with it being together because it's two separate entities that are tied together, though.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think for continuity purposes, and I'd like staff's feedback on that, but I think from continuity.
So, well, why don't we
purposes-
take it as an issue and then bring it back to the council?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Who would like to join Terry on the planning issues?
When do you meet, Terry?
we haven't, the first meeting was scheduled,
February
week, I
20th?
Last
think.
week, yeah.
When?
I think it was scheduled for this week and then canceled. Let me look.
At what time?
We hadn't, well,
Wednesdays or something?
you know, it deleted off I accepted the deletion of the meeting. So
Okay,
I don't have we would need to get together on when we could do it.
You willing to do that?
yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. I don't think we're on a subcommittee together yet, Terry and I.
Yes, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Right, okay. All right, airport roundtable.
You know, I'd like to do that one.
Oh, okay. It's okay with me, I don't know. Anybody else want to do an airport roundtable? Clark, no? Terry?
I'm happy to let Cliff.
Yeah, you know, I did go to one meeting. Actually, maybe I've gone to a couple. So, yeah.
Okay,
That's an important one.
that
It
is
is
an
an
important
important
one,
one.
yeah, right.
Although the Peninsula Cities Consortium seems like it has a lot of meetings involved with it. And they're all daylight meetings.
You know, so this particular consortium, yeah, I mean, not all cities are part of it. I mean, I didn't see any North County city. Were there any North County
Well,
cities?
Burlingame's in it.
Burlingame, okay, so Burlingame would be considered North County, I guess. Mid-county.
North of 92.
Isn't this,
Yeah.
isn't
Right.
this the committee that is sort of wanting to rein in high-speed rail?
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
So it's sort of an anti-high-speed rail.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Seppi wanted to be on it so she could, have her finger on the pulse of what was happening with those cities that are having the issues with high-speed rail and, taking over the whole land to, expand the tracks in those areas. And so, I mean, isn't that right? I mean, Seppi was more of just
Yeah.
wanted to be there to hear what was going on with
Right.
these folks.
Well, I think there was that, and if you recall, when we had joined them, was at a point in time when they were continuing to kind of push the rail yard issue without really listening or engaging Brisbane at all in the discussion. So I think part of it was, we wanted to get some traction with them. Now, that issue is kind of turned at the moment and is not as, as paramount as it was at that point in time. But there's also, there's a couple other committees that deal with high-speed rail that she had was going to also. So we'd have to get you involved with that. And one of them I'm really not all that familiar with. The other one was kind of a consortium of mid-county cities that were probably more, I think their charge was more, build high-speed rail, but build it right, as opposed to stop it. And interestingly, Burlingame belonged to both of them. I found interesting.
Yeah.
But, so, there's fair amount of meetings about this, and there's probably, depending on, what happens with high-speed rail and the electrification of Caltrain, I mean, there could be a lot of activity, or there could be a fairly small amount of activity. Right now, my sense is things are relatively quiet in terms of the meeting schedule and stuff, but that could change quickly.
Yeah, but, it seems like, and I could be wrong, but that most of the discussion was in regards to the corridor down there, not so much, discussing where the rail yard goes.
Well, no, I mean, that's the issue, that's our problem.
That's our
That is
issue,
that
and not
we have
so
a
much
one-off
for
issue.
them. Yeah.
Our issue is not what everybody else's issue, and we don't, the issue on the corridor, and, separation of grade and all that is just really not an issue for us.
We already have the tracks
Right.
laid, so.
I mean, it may be, let me just throw this out. It may be a point in time where whomever wants to take this on wants to reevaluate what we should be and what we should not be involved in, and kind of take a fresh look at how we're approaching this issue. Because I think things have changed a lot. And at least make a recommendation back to the full council in terms of membership in the PCC and membership in this other group.
Yeah, I don't have the time.
It's all weekday meetings from the looks of the schedule, and
True.
that doesn't work for me,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, and I know that, as I recall, Clark, you were on some of these committees for a while, and you felt they were kind of a waste of time.
Yeah,
That-
it wasn't
that was
this
some-
particular one, but yeah, it was, it was a waste. But, this one I think was to, if I recall, was about being part of it, but mainly from an informational standpoint. Because really they were more really concerned about high-speed rail, about what Clay was saying about, having grade separation through there, and, and then 4-track alignment system through their cities that clearly only have 2. And so, there's some stuff that would happen, and it cuts right down the center of their cities. And so they were really up in arms about it. And like Clay said, ours was more of the rail yard. So I'll do it and assess it and see if we want to continue it.
See if it really makes sense, right?
So it's, what time do you say it was? 8:15?
So it's like 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday.
8:15 on Friday morning.
There you go, Clark.
Jesus.
Glad you have that rooster to get you up.
Already assessed.
You're gonna get a medal for
That's
that.
a pretty easy. So,
Pretty easy.
yeah, at 8 o'clock, you beat the rush hour.
If I did that for 32 years, man, don't tell me that's an easy commute. You carpool with me, maybe. Last leg of it.
Is that Clark by default?
Clark by
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do it, Clay.
Right.
Okay.
No, it's not a default.
No, I know.
I
You take a
volunteered.
passion. I know.
Okay, so go to a meeting and then make your assessment, and then we'll put it on the agenda and talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sherry, can you make sure that Wendy puts it on my calendar? Because otherwise, I'll remember 2 weeks later. Because we got a lot of stuff on it. I said, I got all these things that are down there in the peninsula. It's like emergency services and ALS, and had 2 meetings this week on that, 2 different ones. One's Homeland Security.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Randy are on that, and Clay, you and I are on ALS, which is you're gonna be in Sacramento, right, that night? Oh, Valerie, you're the attorney for that. That's right. Wednesday at 6.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Mateo.
so it looks as if we've completed that section of the agenda.
Yeah. What was item D? Clark?
D is communications. And I don't, do we have any?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Okay, so then oral communications number 2.
Thank God.
David, your chance.
Okay, sorry.
Don't take it.
Okay, so I assume that we've, we do want to
Close it.
adjourn in memory of Dora Elman.
I didn't know that she passed.
She passed on December 20th. I ran into her daughters at the
Really?
farmer's market, and I knew she was quite sick, and I hadn't known that she had actually passed on. And they said, yeah, December 20th, and of course, Dora Alaman is a member of one of the pioneer Brisbane families. And, you know, everybody knows the Alaman Hotel, which was here and around, I don't know, before World War I think.
1910,
Yeah, something like that.
when it was built.
Yeah, so it's really,
Second oldest building in Brisbane.
yeah, so it's really a historical
7 Mile.
building and a
Yeah.
historical family for, and, you know, several of the members of the family still live in town, of course. And Dora also, for many years, was the head of the senior program. So she contributed to the community that way. So it's,
Oh, she's very active in the
Yeah.
community.
right,
Yeah.
so we will miss her. So with that,
Well, my condolences to the family. I didn't know it.
yeah. With that, we stand adjourned?
Yes.